What's up, creeps? It's Cauliflower for the ears. Remember, call number is 347-326-9741. 347-326-9741. I am Brian the Butcher Brown. As always, I'm here constantly. I have yet to miss a show. And of course, we're bringing you previews galore tonight. So anyway, let me introduce my partner in crime, the guy who likes to show up most of the time with me and never leave me hanging. I say most of the time because there has been one time that I remember that this guy just fucking cut out on me, and I had to pull in my brother to save my ass just so I wasn't talking to the wall. But I, of course, am talking about none other than Michael Delicious Dolan.
And you can have your dreams. You're the best around. Nothing's gonna ever keep you down. You're the best around. And nothing's gonna ever keep you down. You're the best around. Nothing's gonna ever keep you down. Fight to the end, 'cause you're back with the...
What up, now?
What up, man?
You asked for it, I gave it. You said every week you wanted it as your entrance, so, I forgot to just download the clip that yells out, "You're the best around," so I had to try to time it out. That's why I was rambling like a fool at the beginning.
I love it, dude. I greatly appreciate it, but I believe if you would get the wax out of your ears, I not only asked for the intro to be that every time, but I asked that would be my theme music. Out of the lot. In life.
Sorry.
And, I'm just saying, at work this week.
There you go. I'll make sure it's
the
audible.
Is for if you continue to play songs like that on the intro. What the fuck was that?
It's not the bull, it's the hole, my friend. It's a good song. It's a good song. I'm sorry.
Ooh.
I guess I'm not up to par. I guess I have failed you, and if I failed you, I guess I have failed the audience as well. And I guess that's the end of the show. We'll just back it in now.
Well, you know what, dude? When all else fails, at least you're better than Franco. That fucking almost timer.
Well, it's true. I wasn't even going to mention it this time because I feel we have been stabbed in the back way too many times to cry over it anymore. So, I guess we just know where we stand. It's, I'll show up when I want to, and that's the end of it. That's just the way he is. So, what can you do? Franco gets the job. That was Franco for you.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, every once in a while, there's plenty. But unless one of us dethrones him, I mean, how can we even say anything? The kid does nothing but work us steadily.
Well, yeah, me, I really don't keep track of the scores or anything like that, and I really don't remember who you picked last week or who he picked last week, but I've come to one conclusion, that he has yet again opened both our assholes and extended his lead by a pretty comfortable margin. That's the only thing I came up with.
I don't even know how it played out, to be honest, bro, with the numbers. When it was all said and done, I mean, the sparing parts I saw, I did okay, but I don't think anything great. And I don't even know what he had, but I'm sure he killed it, and we sucked, and you and I are just, battling for second as always.
Yeah, that's all it is, because I know I did halfway decent, but I'm pretty sure my halfway decent on the Tuesday card pretty much matched his Tuesday card, just because we both, I think, had the same amount of wins and losses. I don't know what your picks were. And, Saturday night, I believe he just buried it and broke it off in both of us. So, because, of course, you and I thinking, oh, Josh Barnett, he's been around a long time. He's had a lot of experience. Who's this Daniel Cormier? We all agree that he's going to be pretty great. But he's still young in the sport. And, of course, Daniel Cormier could not cooperate and could not lay down and let Josh Barnett whoop his ass on Saturday night. So that one really fucked us, Dolo.
I know, bro. I'm disappointed only because I'm the one who rode Cormier all along. I picked him over Bigfoot Silva when you guys laughed at me. And then I doubted him. We'll get in depth about the fight, but blown away isn't the word after watching that fight. He was beyond impressive, and then to hear at the end of the day, both he and Barnett broke their hands in the first round of the fight. I mean, I knew that. I'm not going to lie. I watched the fight tonight on my train ride home on my phone, And I read the article. I knew Cormier had broken his hand. So I was watching that first round and trying to pinpoint when it happened. You can't tell.
No. But did you see the picture Barnett tweeted to everybody? I mean, his hand is fucking destroyed. So
I just hope it's nothing long-term or permanent, man, because where this guy has come from in this finite amount of time, he's been training with his hands and obviously avoiding the ground game, which jiu-jitsu and submissions. It is silly to think. And the one thing I underestimated was Josh Barnett just couldn't take him down.
no.
It doesn't exist with this guy. What did you see there, dude? Were you shocked that Barnett never got him down?
Absolutely, man. This was what we discussed last Monday. Like, we all know the guy's got Olympic wrestling credentials, but at the same time that Barnett has just been doing it for so long and has taken guys down that he shouldn't be able to take down, or at least that could somewhat fend off a high-level wrestler and shit like that. And, of course, like you pointed out, Barnett couldn't do shit. He couldn't get him down to the ground. His best, I know we were going to get into it a little bit later, but we might as well just start with the Barnett-Cormier fight because, the only real shot Barnett had to win that fight was when he had the knee bar in, and probably because of that broken hand that we were talking about that he suffered in the first round. That's probably why Cormier was able to keep rolling out of it and finally broke the hold, because Barnett had that in pretty tight, and that was towards the middle of, I think, what was it, the second or third round, Mike, that he almost sunk that knee bar in.
Yeah, in watching the fight, not to beat a dead horse, I was just so impressed with Cormier's striking ability, and he throws so hard. He's got such a good base, and he's just so compact, dude. To hit Bigfoot Silva and knock him out is a joke. I would have thought you would have needed a baseball bat. But
Absolutely.
This guy continues to evolve in his striking, and then you see, like, when Barnett wanted to go for the takedown, basically it would get stuck and then it would go against him. And Cormier, whenever he felt like it, he took him down. He used a trip in the first round and just stayed in his guard and beat him up with elbows. He cut him. And you could see Barnett had been there before, but it had been a while. The announcer said it best when he announced, then at the beginning of the fight. Barnett hadn't lost in 6 years. So, it's been a while since we've seen that, and that throw in the second round was fucking amazing. To watch it in slow motion, Daniel Cormier is what, like 230 around,
240
right?
something. I think he weighed in at 247, yeah.
And Barnett was lean. Barnett was the leanest he's been and came in, but I was a 250-pound man. He picked up and completely flipped over and then landed on his head.
Yeah.
Like, it was just such a display of using grappling and one's weight to your advantage. He was using his base to counter Barnett's moves, and then he would just go with the direction Barnett was going, except just fucking throw him like a rag doll.
It was just insane. Like, it literally, it looked like Cormier was like the veteran of the sport, and Barnett was just, he couldn't figure anything out. What could he do? On his feet, I think we all could agree that we knew Cormier technically should have a better striking, because Barnett's not really known for his striking. But at the same time, Barnett trains with high-level kickboxers, high-level taekwondo guys, so you would think it would have been a little bit better. So I'm not even sure we can blame the fact that Barnett's striking is somewhat rudimentary compared to some of the other guys in the sport. It's just maybe that Cormier is just this good, dude. For a heavyweight, and for a small heavyweight who carries a lot of weight on his body at 5'10", the dude's fast as anything, man. And like you pointed out, he's strong as fuck. So he's going to be a very tough dude to be able to beat. And with that low center of gravity only being 5'10", he's probably also going to be not just because of his wrestling, but also just because of the fact that he's lower than most heavyweights. How are they going to really be able to take him down in the future?
Well, that's it. And grappling's all about leverage. And when you're 5'10" and can carry the weight and ability to fight in the heavyweight division, guys like Barnett, who's bigger for the, actually he's not. He's 6'4", right? So,
right.
That's no slouch. He's 6'4", normally comes in anywhere around 260 to 250. For a fight, he took it serious and he was leaner, but, he's been doing it so much longer, Doug. So I understand what you mean when you say, okay, Barnett's striking isn't always the strongest point, but just sheer experience and volume as far as, repetition of strikes and practicing. He's got, 8 years, 10 years on Cormier as far as working his strikes? Easily, right?
Because Cormier's just got over, like a year or some shit like that.
He's
because
10-0,
he got
bro.
into it.
Yeah, I mean, he's only 10-0 Cormier. Barnett's got over 40 fights. He's almost got 40 wins.
It was just a sick performance. And like you said, I doubted him with Bigfoot Silva. I even doubted him against Jeff Munson, if you can remember that travesty that I had to fucking sit there and hate myself over because, of course, Munson went the distance with him, but Munson looked like garbage in that fight. He at no point, did he look like he even had anything. And Barnett kind of looked similar, like I said, except for that one knee bar. And I think he had Daniel hurt, I'd say, a total of 2 times in that fight. But it wasn't anything out of control where you could say, oh, yeah, if Barnett got in there and swarmed him, he could finish this fight. It was just one of those things when he caught him with an elbow where you could see Cormier felt it. It wasn't the fact that Cormier was reeling in any way. But there was a couple times that Cormier had Barnett, in a position where he might have finished him. It's just that Barnett, again, pointing to his experience, was able to weather the storm and hold on and ride it out, which, it gives him points in the fact that he's a warrior, but, the fact of the matter is that he definitely was outclassed Saturday night.
And to think that the captain of the 2004 Olympic U.S. wrestling team almost knocked out Josh Barnett with a fucking head kick in the 3rd round. I mean, honestly,
yeah, that was ridiculous.
He threw it, Barnett blocked it, and it just absorbed the punishment. And you know what the theme of the night for me was? We don't know what Gil Melendez's situation is going to be, but it's obvious, pending what you said with Cormier's hand, unless it's like really a problem, or he's going to become a guy who just constantly breaks his hand because he is hitting such bigger guys. It's going to, outside of that, it's going to create some fun scenarios, man. You saw Cain Velasquez, the former UFC heavyweight champ, trying to make his way back. They're rooting for Cormier. It's their boys. They train at AKA together. Heavyweight division. Interviewing Gil Melendez's fight after the fight with Josh Thompson. Who comes walking over behind in the dressing rooms. And after the interview, Nate Diaz comes over and gives the belt to Gil Melendez. And Gil Melendez says, the top 2 lightweights in the world right here. What happens if they're in the same division? This could get really interesting with all this. I'm not fighting, guys in my camp and shit like that. So, I don't know, but Daniel Cormier sent a message. Nobody wanted to see him before, dude. Imagine now after beating Barnett and Bigfoot Silva. When we've seen Barnett just take dudes down and submit them at will for the last 3 years and not lose in the last 6. Cormier sent a message. I'm done doubting him.
I couldn't believe it, man. And I wish, like you said, dude, you were fucking riding Cormier, and you had just a change of heart. You were looking at the track records of both these guys. Obviously, Franco's the only one who made the right pick, but I had to doubt him because I was like, oh, whatever. I mean, obviously we all were riding Bigfoot Silva. Bigfoot Silva's been knocked out before, so you could say, okay, he got caught, even though it was, in comparison, such a much smaller guy than him. But for him to be able to manhandle a guy with Josh Barnett's track record, it definitely is going to pose some problems in the heavyweight division in the future. Of course, Cormier's stuck for the one more fight in Strikeforce, which, again, as we were making fun of it before, pointless, how pointless the heavyweight Grand Prix really was because they dissolved the heavyweight division. I would love to know who they're going to pull in for that heavyweight fight over in Strikeforce that Cormier is contracted to fight now. And the one thing that I hope the UFC and their feud with Josh Barnett from way back in the day is kind of over because Barnett definitely proved, he's a good guy. He's a fairly nice guy, competitive wise. He's good with the other competitors, but plus, he definitely worked the mic. He can sell a fight. And on top of it all, he proved that he'll go out there and he'll keep fighting no matter how much pain he's in or how much punishment he's taken. So, I mean, already we knew that he was one of the best in the world. He would definitely add a lot to the heavyweight division in the UFC. So I hope that they bring him over to the UFC because, of course, Dana's last quote on the whole matter was, if he wins, how could we keep him out of the UFC, is what he said. He didn't say that he was going to bring him in win or lose. He said if he wins. So, I just hope that they don't push Josh Barnett out because, he's a very entertaining individual, and I think he's still got a lot of fights left.
I don't think they will, Dub, and it's a great point, and it's not to be, just kind of tossed to the side, but I think part of that is Dana White, always working an angle and, going to leave things open-ended, but he is a guy who's a bit of a more polarizing character as far as, a commissioner or a president of a major athletic league is, but, at the end of the day, he's going to sell it like, are we, aren't we, in case he loses, and, they're going to bring him in, but it's just to bring, a little more hype behind it. So
Well, that's what I'm hoping it is because, Barnett's been gone for so long. Basically, he's fought a lot of great competition, but he's also just sat out there on his name fighting, kind of like how they ruined Fedor's career, fighting guys who weren't up to his level. Barnett, not as guilty of that, but he's fought his fair share of cans. He needs to be back in the UFC where the top competition is. And like I said, he's entertaining enough where he definitely can sell pay-per-views. But, enough, here I am talking about Barnett. Cormier is definitely the story of Saturday night. It's just ridiculous.
No, sorry to interrupt you, Doug. You know who
That's right.
You know who Josh Barnett needs to thank once he goes over to the UFC?
Who's that?
Alistair Overeem.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being such a juice head and such an idiot that you blew your shot after one fight. Now they kind of need me. Me and Cormier can come over and have a little infusion to where if Overeem's over there, Verdum's never going to be a problem for them, so it's not a deal. But they've already got a bunch of good heavyweights in Strikeforce, but if they were one more spot, it'd probably already be taken once Cormier got in. So I think that Alistair just blowing it gives Barnett a little more leverage and a bargaining chip in the game.
Well, I definitely think they have to because, like you said, Barnett has beaten Overeem before when they were in Pride. And, both these guys were probably the two main faces of people saying steroids are rampant in the sport. And you know what? Besides the what happened with Affliction, Barnett's been clean ever since. So, give the guy his chance. He definitely can fight. But, like I said, Cormier is the real story. It's obvious this guy, he's 33 years old. He got to start late in the sport, but he's definitely well worth it, and he's going to be doing some big things in the future. He's going to probably, I don't want to say he's the next great heavyweight and go that far because obviously I haven't been 100% sold on him yet, but he's making a believer out of me. I don't want to call him, the next great thing like obviously we've seen John Jones become. He's going to need to do a couple more things against some stiffer competition for me to be a believer, but if he comes over to the UFC and starts walking through dudes, obviously it's over. This guy is the real deal, and he's the next big thing, but, I'm just going to shift gears real quick because obviously there was 2 cards last week, and I don't think we're going to break down all the fights, but another guy I was impressed with was the main event over on Fuel TV with Chang Sung Jung versus Dustin Poirier. And, of course, I was a loser, and I picked Poirier, Dustin the Diamond Poirier, just because, I've seen the guy fight. He's a finisher, and I figured we've seen Jung get knocked out by George Roop, and I thought, as much as I loved watching Jung fight, I thought he was a little overhyped for what he was, but he definitely made a believer out of me that maybe he deserved all that hype, and he's starting to evolve as a fighter. Michael, what did you think of this main event, and do you think that Jung has a chance to beat Jose Aldo for that featherweight title belt?
If he fights like he did the other night, yes. I went in as you did, and I picked Dustin Poirier, and like you said, he's got striking, he's young, athletic, and you could see it when he went in the other night. He was having fun. This isn't a kid who goes in there and is kind of like, I get a little nervous for a fight. I'm sure he has his moments or his jitters, but he genuinely doesn't seem to be showing off. He seems to enjoy it. I mean, it was unbelievable, the performance the Korean Zombie put on, dude. That's the first time I really sat and watched him put on a show and put together his work, and it was just ridiculous. His striking was great, and then the submission to pull it out at the end, dude. Like, Dustin Poirier is no slouch on the ground. He's a young kid. He'll bounce back. I mean, Jose's Jose, dude. What are you going to do? At this point, he's not at Anderson Silva level because of length of time, or John Jones, hasn't been as long as Jose, but Jose's just a beast, dude, for his weight class, and I'm looking to see the old Jose, who's going to come out and finish dudes, and the Korean Zombie style is going to afford Jose that opportunity. He's going to be able to actually strike and bang and try to finish, and we all saw what he did to Chad Mendez. That was the old Jose. That was the knee from hell. So, I don't know. I mean, I think it's a fair point. Normally going in, I'd say no, Jose all the way. I still would pick Jose, 10 out of 10 times. But it's going to be a fight, and, who knows? Maybe it'll give us some time to get better and come back, because after the Korean Zombie, again, you're kind of like, all right, what's going on? So,
right, exactly. Who's going to fight?
Were you disappointed in Poirier, or did you think the Korean Zombie really just whooped his ass?
At first, I thought, I was like, oh, man, this guy, maybe he wasn't well prepared or something. And then I just started to realize, like, I mean, the Korean Zombie was just beating him to the punch, was really working him over. And you could see he was in trouble. He was looking to his corner constantly in the first round, trying to get some direction, which, you know, is good. It means the kid can be coached. He's going to learn from his mistakes, like you pointed out. He's really young. But it was just quite apparent that Jung was just the better fighter. Of course, when they both kind of started to wear down a little bit, you saw Poirier coming back, landing some blows. I was like, okay, this is where he's going to start taking over the fight. And then out of nowhere, the Korean Zombie just landed that combination, which culminated with the knee and then the submission, like you said. So obviously, he sensed he was getting tired too, and he knew he needed to finish the fight there. And that, to me, proved that the Korean Zombie definitely is worth all the accolades that people have been throwing on him, because the dude knew, if I don't finish it now, there's a good chance that this kid, he's got a little bit more in the tank than I do, and he's going to finish this fight. So to me, that means that Jung, you know, he's going to do whatever it takes to win the fight, and obviously he's going to go back to the gym and probably try to work on that conditioning more. But, you know, like I said, at first it was a little bit of disappointment, and I just started to realize I'm just watching a dude go to work here who's a better fighter and just keeps improving. So, you know, I definitely was really impressed Tuesday night watching that fight, and I think he deserves the title match. And but like you said, Mike, I got to go with Jose Aldo. It just seems like that is the smart pick. Jose, we see what he does to people. He's a big featherweight. But if the Korean Zombie can work on that conditioning where he's fresher and can do the things that he did on Tuesday night, he's definitely going to be a challenge for Jose.
Certainly, dude. Yeah, not just like, you know, a no-brainer Jose, like I had said, but I don't know. And I thought the Korean Zombie hit hard. That was the thing I was impressed with as well. And like we had, you know, both been saying, Dustin is a younger kid, but, you know, it almost looked like a man hitting, you know, a guy who was about to become a man in Poirier. Like, Poirier's almost not there yet. Like, you know, 22 and 26 is big when you're talking about guys cutting weight down. So, you know, I just think that, you know, Poirier will get there, but he's got time. So he got hit with some shots, and it looked like almost a guy in a different weight class was hitting him. So I was impressed. Now the Korean Zombie, who, you know, was looking a little tired, is going to have to deal with a faster, stronger guy than Poirier, and not to mention it's 5 rounds. So that sounds like an amazing time.
Well, exactly, and if you remember, actually, the Jung Poirier fight was 5 rounds too, and that's what I'm trying to point out. His conditioning obviously needs a lot of work, because if he doesn't just get finished by Aldo, or he's making a fight out of it, by the time that thing hits the 4th and 5th round, it's over for him. Unless, of course, he can get back to the drawing board, figure it out, start fighting, you know, training for 5 rounds specifically, try to get that gas tank up, because we've all seen Jose Aldo finish dudes, and we've all seen Jose Aldo go 5 rounds. One time with Mark Hominick where he literally looked like he was dying, but he was able to gut it out in that 5th round. So, you know, the guy definitely has those reserves. He knows how to work a 5-round fight, and like I said, Jung looked like he was getting tired. So if he can work that, he's definitely going to be a problem, but he would have to finish, in my opinion, he would have to finish Jose in the 1st or 2nd round, which I just don't see happening.
Yeah, dude, nor I. I completely agree. But you know what? It's a legitimate debate, at least, so that right now in that weight class, that's all we can ask for right now. And that's kind of how it's been for a little bit, right? I mean, guys keep coming up, and then Jose either, like you said, walks through them. But now we've seen him, dude. The knock on him can't be, oh, if he doesn't finish you, just wait him out. He's gone, you know, he's won multiple 5-round title fights. So at this point, where's the hole? Where's the hole in the game? I don't think Jung's the one to beat him, but I don't know if there is anyone that can beat him at 145. The kid's, 24?
Well, when Frankie moves down, then maybe we got a shot, because you know, Frankie has alluded to that. He's starting to warm up to the possibility, even though he's got that rematch with Benson Henderson on the horizon.
He's going to beat Henderson, dude.
I think he is too. But if he doesn't, he's definitely going to 145. I know he beat him the first time. But, you know, we'll see what happens in the rematch. Sometimes shit, you know, all of a sudden Henderson might fucking light him up. We don't know. But I agree with you, dude. I think he beat him the first time too. But Frankie did, I think it was like a month ago. He said something about that. He'd be open to fighting Jose Aldo. It's just, you know, he's not done at 155 yet. So if he doesn't win that title, he's going down there. And then maybe we'll actually see Jose challenged. But before we go, we talk about the Gil Melendez title fight, I'm going to leave it with really impressive performances on these 2 cards. And I'm going to go right away to Donald Cerrone versus Jeremy Stephens. this fight, I mean, it couldn't have gone any better for Donald Cerrone. It was obvious that he definitely rebounded from the loss to Nate Diaz, and he just worked over Jeremy Stephens all fight. I was disappointed to see that he couldn't finish him, but overall, I mean, he just beat the snot out of Jeremy Stephens. What did you think of this fight, Mike?
I thought it was an extremely telling and an extremely impressive performance for Donald Cerrone. Everybody was asking what was his comeback going to be like, how was he going to respond to Nick Diaz's fight that was not only physically grueling, but it was taxing mentally and emotionally, because he really just got beaten in all levels of life over the course of the whole interaction. So he came back, he looked good. I mean, the thing about Cerrone, he can really take it anywhere. Strong in submission, but he fights to strike. So he can really take, Jeremy Stephens is a good wrestler. He's got explosive hands, so he's just trying to counter, and he can really go wherever the fight needs to go. So I was impressed. The guy won, 4 fights? He was 4-1 last year in the UFC. So,
yeah.
I mean, because he lost to Nate Diaz doesn't mean that the guy's done so. So if he can, string another maybe 2-3 together, he's back in that top, 5 conversation at least. But I don't know. I thought it was impressive. He looked good. He's big, so he poses some problems. But your boy Cerrone isn't a finisher, son.
I know he is. Well, he is when he's got on the ground and he can sub people out, but he's only got the one knockout on his career, which I'm disappointed, because I think Stephens was ripe for the taking, and that would have been a nice one for him to really cement it. That all of a sudden he's becoming a knockout artist, but of course he couldn't pull it off, and there really wasn't much groundwork in this fight. But Cerrone definitely took Stephens all the way to the end and just knocked, like I said, really beat the balls off of him. Stephens couldn't get anything going. I think if anything, he maybe landed a handful of shots the entire fight. And Cerrone just kept backing him down, and mainly using his kicks, which is smart, because Cerrone is a kickboxer. That's where you got to start. And, he's a long 155er, and that's probably, he's not, obviously Nate Diaz is taller than him anyway, but, he probably should have used more kicks in that fight. But then there would have been a chance he would have went to the ground, and we have to say that Nate Diaz probably is a better jiu-jitsu guy than him, so that's probably why he didn't throw it in that fight. But in this fight, he was smart, was kicking the shit out of Stephens, and, I was really impressed with him. Like you said, he's definitely an elite 155er, but to say something else, on the flip side, obviously we're going to be talking about 146 in a little bit. His arch nemesis from the WEC is going to get his second shot in the UFC this Saturday, and I'm pretty stoked about that. The most hated man in MMA is finally back in the UFC, Jamie Varner. Did you see that he signed to fight on Saturday, dude?
No.
Yes, due to injury, they put the call out to Jamie Varner, even though nobody likes him, and the UFC needed a fill-in fight. Jamie Varner jumped at it because he was fucking somewhere on the other end of the world, end of the world, suffering because nobody wanted to hire him anymore. But Jamie Varner is going to be fighting Edson Barbosa on the undercard.
I had no idea, dude. Very interesting. Breaking news.
Yeah, I'm stoked because I used to just love watching Jamie Varner fights, even when he had the belt, because nobody liked him. Everybody booed him, and even the judges hated him. And, he really had to fucking work his opponent over to get that decision to go his way. So, stoked about that. So maybe if Varner can get a couple wins under his belt, we can get Varner Cerrone 3, which will be great, So, I know I got off track there, but we'll finish this up with the Amir Sadallah versus George Lopez, who took time off of his talk show to step into the UFC octagon. And I got to say, I was a little surprised by Lopez because that was a pretty close fight, and I'm happy Amir got the win. And I think he deserved the win, but I could have easily seen it going the other way as well. What did you think of this fight?
I mean, I love Amir. I picked him. I think that might have been one that I got 7 points on, I think winning by decision. But I thought watching the fight, there was no way he won that fight. And I was
really?
Honestly, dude, he was better on the hands, but wherever Lopez wanted the fight to take place, it took place. He took him down. And, he took him down, twice in the first round, I think twice in the second, and once in the third, and the clinch game looked good. So, I mean, Amir used his length, his kicks, his punches, but I, after the fight, felt like I had a 2-1 Lopez.
Wow. See, I guess, it's one of those fights that people are going to see it differently each way, because I definitely felt that it was close as shit, and I wouldn't have been disappointed at all if they raised Lopez's hand, because I could have seen it going both ways, but I definitely scored it for Amir. You know, so it's just one of those ones that's tough to score, you know. And the whole time I was like, oh, shit, you know, he's just not doing enough. And like you said with the takedowns, but I thought a couple of those takedowns, he didn't do anything with, you know what I'm saying? So it was just one of those things where, yeah, it's scored, but Amir was able to get back up to his feet and then land some blows from the clinch. So, you know, that's the way I was looking at it, but you never know who's scoring the fight either, you know. Sometimes takedowns are really impressive.
Different people see different things, so it's totally the case, and that's the fun part about it. We're all sometimes, you know, maybe it's 70-30 and it goes the other way, but, you know, most of the time different. That's people get on the judges, but it's tough. You don't know who sees what, and, you know, I don't just want guys taking people down and laying on them, but if I'm watching a 3-round fight and I see a guy get basically 5 takedowns, dude, I mean, it doesn't take, you know, a genius to say he's imposing his will. But, you know, yeah, if he did a little more on the hands, Lopez, I would have said clear cut. But, again, I was in the same boat. Could have gone either way, but I was surprised at the decision. And I had Amir going for probably the highlight of my night, 7 points, like I'm a Nostradamus.
Nice. Well, you are, because you got it right, man. And you know what I would love to hear is Franco weigh in here, because I'd like to see how he saw this one going. But, unfortunately, he shit broke us again, so we won't get that answer. But, now, obviously, we'll finish up the reviews with the title fight, which, you know, I wasn't too happy with it, and I love Gil Melendez, and I think he's got every reason to be, you know, ranked where he is in the world. He's one of the best 155ers out there. Fortunately, he is stuck in Strikeforce. He's going to be stuck in Strikeforce because, you know, he did retain the title on Saturday night, but, of course, he won by split decision. But I think Josh Thompson, torn PCL and all, which makes him a warrior, okay, because, you know, he could have easily pulled out of this fight. Not only did he not pull out of the fight, but I felt he did a lot of great things out there. And, you know, he was able to take Gil down a couple times. He was able to fight off takedowns. He was able to get back to his feet. From the end of the 3rd round on, it just looked like he was getting the better of the striking to me. And I really had Josh Thompson winning rounds 3, 4, and 5 in that fight. Which alone should have given him the victory, in my opinion. But also, I scored the 1st round a draw. That's how close it was. 2nd round was all Gil. I can't take that away from him, but it definitely wasn't a 10-8 round. So, you know, if anything, I would have said, okay, if somehow the fight was scored a draw. But it ended up coming up split decision for Gil. And, I mean, again, you know, I'm not one to really take damage into consideration. You know, I've fucking complained about it before that a lot of people look at it and say, oh, look at his face, look at the way he looks. You know, that guy definitely lost the fight because, of course, there wouldn't be a scoring system if we could just look at someone's face and decide who won a fight. But, you know, in this instance, especially since I feel Josh Thompson definitely outworked Gil, if you compare the faces, Gil was beat up. I mean, his eyes were cut. His one eye was almost swelled completely shut. You know, and I hate to sound like I'm bad-mouthing Gil, but I just think he, you know, he probably won because, you know, a couple of the rounds were close, and obviously he's the champ and he's Gilbert Melendez, but I really couldn't agree with it. I think Josh Thompson was kind of robbed, and he did it with, you know what, though? He took it with class. He had nothing negative to say about it, which I really couldn't say the same for Gil after the fight. And it wasn't that he was really trying to take shots at Thompson, but you can just tell he's frustrated with his position, not getting the top fighters in the world to fight, even though I think Josh Thompson is one of the better 155ers out there. He would definitely hold his own in the UFC. But it doesn't help Gil out with his quest to become probably the number 1 pound for pound, or at least the number 1 155er out there. You know, but he kind of, you know, said that he was in a lose-lose situation fighting Josh, which I thought was kind of a, you know, a bit of a dick thing to say. But, you know, I know I'm rambling here, but what did you think of the fight, Mike?
You know, it doesn't take a genius to see Gil Melendez after the fight, like you said. His right eye was completely like swollen and sunken in, and you know he was beat up. You could see it. And Thompson, you know, I couldn't say it was the same amount of damage it looked like he took, but you know, besides the fight itself, like you know, the UFC would have loved it probably if Gil lost, because now they could have a legitimate second fight with Thompson and Gil, like fucking immediately, like fuck the warm up, Gil gets a shot. So it's not like the UFC was rooting for Gil here. But, you know, at the end of the day, you could see. I'm sure somebody in the UFC grabbed him because he was drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit of Strikeforce, you know, after the fight, like in the back in the interview saying, you know, I'm here in Strikeforce, I'm with them at Showtime. Like, you could tell somebody pulled him in a room and like, listen, bro, I know it sucks, but this is how it's going to fucking happen, and you're going to get paid, but listen, I don't want to hear it. So I just felt like, you know, we all want Gil over in the UFC. I don't know. I almost thought he lost too, but at the end of the day, he's still the champ. Maybe his name has a little something to do with it, but I don't know. I don't know what's next for him, dude. Who's out there you want to see Gil fight?
There's nobody. That's the problem. There's nobody in Strikeforce. I mean, obviously, he brought up, even before this fight took place, that he would have loved to have fought even B.J. Penn. B.J. Penn turned it down. You know, we can all speculate whether it's because B.J. Penn's scared to fight Gil Melendez, which he probably is. I mean, he's older. He's earned his spot. You know, I'm sure since the guy keeps wavering on whether or not he's retiring officially or not, I don't think he wants to go out there and look like a fool in case Gil Melendez beats the snot out of him and he loses. You know, he's lost. His last fight was a loss, and he was thinking about retiring because he took it hard.
That's a tough call, though, Doug. Like, honestly, B.J. Penn, like, I understand what you're saying. Gil Melendez is, 26, 27 years old. He's at the top of the game and getting stronger. You're not B.J. Penn, and you don't accomplish the thing that B.J. Penn accomplished by being scared to fight anybody. This guy,
I agree.
Fucking Lyoto Machida. You know, he fought Gomi back in Hawaii when, like, they were probably the top 2 55ers in the world. They couldn't get it done on the big time, so he came down to Hawaii, Gomi, and just fought B.J., you know?
No, I got you. Okay, I probably didn't phrase that right. I wasn't trying to.
He's going to throw money at him, Doug. There's no way now that he won. If he lost, like I said, if he lost, you got Thompson Gill 2, or actually it became Thompson Gill 4. But, dude, now they got nothing left. You got to have Thompson fight at least one more time if you want to give him another shot. You can't give him an automatic.
You have to.
So, I think they throw a bunch of money at BJ, say get out there one last time, and then you could be done or figure it out. He'll fight him, dude. There's no two ways about it. BJ will hang out a little bit. The guy's got another fight in him. I think he'll come. He'll fight Gil. He'll get paid, and then, who knows what happens. He could beat Gil, dude. I'd never say BJ Penn can't beat anybody when he's fighting a guy at 155, definitely, and, probably half to most of the 170s, dude. This guy lost to Nick Diaz, and he took such a beating that it left such an impression in our minds, and I can understand and respect that. But before that, he wasn't getting killed. You know what I mean? No. He lost 2 to Frankie. He went and won a fight in 170, and, it's BJ Penn, bro.
Well, I agree with you there. All I'm trying to say is I think BJ Penn probably wants to take his swan song and go out on a high note. So perhaps I phrased it wrong, but I think if he was a little bit younger and it was in a different position in his career, he'd sign on the dotted line immediately. I don't think he's going to be fighting Gilbert Melendez. I really don't.
I still expect it. And who knows? And the fact that you and I can debate it is what makes it interesting and necessary for the UFC. Because you and I are...
I tell you what, a perfect last fight for BJ Penn, Dan Hardy. Okay, that's the way I'm looking at it.
I called that way. I called him back.
Well, I don't want any part of it because I know Dwayne Bang's got a fight with him on Saturday, and that could be the last time we see Dan Hardy. So good luck to him. But I hope I'm wrong, dude, because that would be an interesting fight. And you know what? Then that would be the name that Gil is looking for, and then he could probably finish out his contract strong in Strikeforce, come over to the UFC. If his boy Nate Diaz hasn't wrested the title from who's ever holding it, then Gil makes his run at it, or he gets the immediate title shot. So. It could all work out good if that's the way it works out. But we'll have to see how that all pans out. So, I hope I'm wrong. I would like to see BJ Penn go out but if he beats Gil, great for him, and then he should hang it up because, then he's won a few 2 different titles in 2 different weight classes, and then also over in Strikeforce. So congratulations to him. That would be a nice way to end it all for him.
No, agreed, man. It could be intriguing.
So, but anyway, we'll stop talking about BJ Penn, bitching about Gil Melendez. We only got 19 minutes left, so I guess we should hit the UFC 146 card, the all-heavyweight main card, which I know I already talked about how Jamie Varner's on this card. See, the undercard is so good as well. I can't wait to see the preliminary fights and all the shit that goes on Saturday, because there isn't a bad fight on this card from top to bottom. It's going to be fucking sick. And, of course, we had the shakeup with Alistair Overeem eating his horse meat and just couldn't fucking, pass his drug test. He got a D. But that's not good enough for the UFC because you got to get a C+ or better. And he didn't get it. So, unfortunately, They had to shift some shit around, and Frankie Mir gets the title shot now. So the main event pits Junior Dos Santos versus Frank Mir, and I had a tough time picking this fight, Mike. I'm back and forth with it. I've got a bunch of reasons why I have a tough time with it, but if you want to go first on it, just because I'm still thinking about it, and I still might change my mind, but I think I'm going to stick with my answer. But I want to hear what you got to say. Who do you think wins this fight?
You cheap bastards. Laying it all on me.
You know, that's my style, Mikey.
I respect it. I dig that about you. Even though, like you said, this was Frank Mir getting a shot out of, Overeem blowing it. It's a great fight, and it's an intriguing fight. And, the guys have had enough time to train. They're professionals. And watching the prime time, it's making me like Frank Mir so much more as a person. Like, he's actually just like a really cool dude. He gave the story of, his motorcycle accident and, trying to come back and getting hooked on, pills and drinking for 2 years and, all that shit. And he will take your limb. And everybody talks about it, that, Junior Dos Santos is a brown belt under Big Nog, and Mir is the only guy to ever put out Big Nog and submit Big Nog, and he did them both in big fashion, and most recently, literally just taking the fucking wing off of Big Nog and fucking
ridiculous,
just ripping the skin off of it. So, but Junior Dos Santos is not Big Nog. And we can see what'll happen, because you got to figure Frank will probably get the fight there if he makes it past the first 2.5, 3 minutes. But Shane Carwin's a big dude, and Frank's definitely tough. But JDS didn't put out Shane Carwin, but he showed us everything in that fight, and he hit so hard, and he's so fast, and his boxing is so good. I just kind of have shades of Frank fighting Carwin, of Frank losing to Vera, and things like that.
Of course.
I don't know, man. If he can get it to the later round, maybe late round 2, round 3. Now we've seen Junior go there against Shane. It was a 3-round fight, but not against a guy who's so dangerous and could just absolutely finish you and end your career in a split second. So it's going to be tough. And like you said, I'm wavering, dude. You can tell I'm buying time. I'm fucking rambling because
I can't blame you.
I have no idea what I know what I want to do, but you know what, dude? I'm going Junior Dos Santos first round knockout.
Mike, I think that's smart, and like I said, I think I'm going to stick with what I wrote down on this goddamn piece of paper in front of me, and I'm probably going to hate myself for it. I just want to point out, obviously, Junior Dos Santos, he's only lost once in his career. That one loss, though, was to a submission. Okay? Now, on the flip side, we look across who will be his opponent on Saturday night. Is Frankie Mir, former UFC heavyweight champion, former interim UFC heavyweight champion, former UFC interim heavyweight title challenger, who Shane Carwin, like you pointed out, beat him. Frank Mir's got 5 losses on his career. All 5 of those losses are by TKO or knockout. So, of course, like you pointed out with Dos Santos, as hard as he can hit, and as good as his boxing is, on paper, it just doesn't bode well for Frank Mir. So this is what makes it tough for myself as well. This is why I've been wavering on it. It took me a while to make a choice, and like I said, I'm not going to change it. I think Frank Mir knows what he's got to do, knows he's got to get this thing to the ground. He doesn't want to trade with Dos Santos. Frank Mir's boxing has gotten better over the years, but it still isn't on the same level. But I think he'll stand on his feet, feel out Dos Santos for a little while in that first round. But he's going to start trying to work in for the takedowns. And as big as Frank Mir is, since he comes in, he has to cut weight to get to 265. He should be the stronger of the 2 fighters. We really haven't seen Dos Santos have to fend off a really solid, strong guy taking him down yet in the UFC. Roy Nelson was probably the only guy who we could say had the credentials to get him down, and he couldn't do it. They fought to a decision, and Dos Santos won that. But I think Frank Mir is going to get it down to the ground. And in the second round, I think Frank Mir puts him out. Second round sub. And if Dos Santos doesn't tap, we know he's going to take that limb home with him.
Wow. Dude, I fucking love it. Why not? Me and you are, bringing up the rear as always. So, go for it, dude. And I wouldn't be disappointed if it went that way. Like I said, I like Frank Mir in general. He's got a guy who's got a bit of swagger to him, and, he's been on each end of the spectrum. You know, top of the world, winning the heavyweight title at 25, having it all taken away, building his way back, getting close with the interim title, getting beat by Lesnar, and, you know, he's still here, dude. You know, he's still fighting in a fucking heavyweight title fight. So you can't say that's not impressive, right? So what, he won the title once at 25, and then he wins the interim belt, so he's 2-0 in title fights, and, you know, loses to Lesnar, he's 2-1. Let's see. He's either going to be fucking 3-1 or 2-2.
Well, that's just it. But I mean, you know, also like you pointed out, the dude's still here. He's got the longest tenured heavyweight in UFC at this point. He's been fighting there since 2001. You know, the dude's earned a spot, and he's never lost back-to-back fights. You know, so the guy's
high school in 2001.
See, so that's how long ago it was, pal. Frank Mir definitely deserves a spot, and you got to figure he's learned from those losses. Obviously, you know, all it takes is one shot to knock you out, and you can't be a Superman and avoid that. But I would like to think that Frank Mir, you know, he's learned from that. He's learned how to use his feet. Obviously, he's a smarter fighter. You know, and he's definitely worked on his boxing where he should be able to use it to work closer for a takedown. As long as he doesn't get tagged on the chin, I think he goes down. And I think that's just the way I see it going. Of course, I'm probably going to see him counting the lights on Saturday, but you know what? I got to go for it because I would assume that Franco's going to pick Junior Dos Santos because of the fact that all of Frank Mir's losses have been 5 KOs. So I'm sure he's going to get us his picks later in the week. He's going to have Dos Santos, so I just got to go against what I think Franco's going to do overall. So that's it. That's my final answer on that. But of course, the co-main event on this card was who Frankie Mir was supposed to originally be fighting, pitting the former heavyweight champion Cain Velasquez versus Antonio Bigfoot Silva, who originally was supposed to be fighting Roy Nelson. Of course, this whole card was shaken up. This was another tough one for me to pick. I'm going to go first, though. I'm going to tell you how I see it going. Obviously, we saw Cormier knock out Antonio Silva. Cormier is a Olympic level wrestler. Cain Velasquez is an NCAA champion. The dude's a beast. I'm not going to say he has an easy time with it. I think he's going to be able to use his wrestling. We know Cain can hit hard. I'm not picking Cain to finish this fight, but I think he's going to do enough to control the fight. He's going to get the better of the stand-up when it is standing. And I think Cain Velasquez is going to end up winning this by unanimous decision.
All right, that's interesting because, you know, both guys, you know, can finish, you know, each other, but I agree. You know, Cain Velasquez is a fight removed from being talked about as just invincible and just not able to be defeated. So he got clipped behind the ear once to Junior Dos Santos, and now everybody's kind of like, all right, what's going to happen? What the fuck you mean what's going to happen? He's 9-1 and has walked through every person he's seen except the last guy who clipped him in the first. And he just completely abandoned his game plan and defied logic and went exactly in the world that JDS wanted. I think it's a statement fight. I think Cain Velasquez, to look at him and to just see how he is and handles his business, is not a guy who fucks around in any aspect of his life. There is no doubt, dude, I'm saying it now, Cain Velasquez will be the champ within the next year and a half and will probably hold the belt for a nice little, maybe, 3-year run after that.
Wow.
I believe
you think he's going to be able... You think he can hold on to it that long? I mean, the heavyweight
I do, man, because how old is he right now? What's he, 26, 27? And he's already
younger than me.
He's young. So I really feel like what people were saying about him when he started coming around AKA was, and you heard the stories that he, you know, had like 4 fights lined up over the course of a year and every guy backed out, never even made it into the ring. You hear all these stories, and he cut his teeth in the UFC. And this guy knows what it takes to win. He's calculated. He's strong-minded. I'm telling you, dude, this guy's the champ. And if Frank were here, he'd be talking about how I'm going to blow this dude.
No, I agree with you, man. I think he gets past Bigfoot Silva. How did you pick him by winning this time, though?
I did not because I was trying to buy time. And I got Cain Velasquez second-round knockout, too.
Wow. All right. Well, you see, I just think, I don't know, man. I think Cain, he doesn't fuck around. He's a serious dude. I think he might be a little tentative. That's why I'm going with UD, because he did get knocked out last time. We do know Silva's got that knockout power, but I wouldn't be shocked, dude. I think that's a pretty good pick. I don't think you're going out on a limb there. You know, because I wanted to actually pick knockout for Kane, but I pussed out. I definitely pussed out because I could see.
And I'm not. Silva isn't slow, so don't just take what I'm about to say out of proportion. But I feel like Cain Velasquez and Silva in there, like he's just so fast, he's so up the middle, and just straight with his right and his left hand, and can throw head kicks. And then, like you said, with the wrestling base, man, like a guy like Silva's got good jips, but you saw with Cormier even. With Barnett, who's a submission, specialist and master, that great wrestlers with base know where to put themselves and where not to put themselves.
How low
they may
can
not be
you go?
The smartest guy, but I don't know, man. I think Velasquez wins it, takes it home, and is going to get the winner of Mir and JDS.
I agree with that, especially if he wins impressively, like you said, because, like I said, I wanted to pick that, but I pussed out, and I wouldn't be shocked. So I think you have a nice pick for yourself there. Moving on to the next fight was Silva's original opponent, who is none other than Roy. Now, of course, everybody knows him as Big Country. I refer to him as the Sandwich. But as I was perusing his Wikipedia profile, I don't know if this is an endorsed nickname by him or if somebody's just fucking around, but I like this one. So I'm going to call him by this nickname. Roy, the Chubby Funster Nelson versus Dave Pee Wee Herman. Now, Herman's replacing Gonzaga. Gonzaga got hurt, and Herman's coming in on a bit of a short notice, about 2 weeks now. But Mike, how do you see this one going?
Yeah, dude, Herman's actually a good fighter, but to see him in that last fight when he came in was just the creepy, balding black hair, the beard,
the man suit,
just absolutely hair everywhere. Like I thought it was a costume. I said, "What the fuck is this?" He can fight, but Dana doesn't, play. And if you're not producing and you're doing shit like that, he's not going to have it. Short notice is tough, but Roy Nelson is so tough. He's been in with the best of the best outside of, like, Fedor and, like, Randy Couture, that the heavyweight division's had to offer for the last, 12 years. So you just can't take it away, man. You cannot finish this guy. I thought what JDS put on him was the craziest beating someone could take without actually going out and not even ever really being close to going out. It's not even like it's in question. And then I saw him fight Fabricio Verdum. And I saw a knee that in slow motion looks like should have put his nose straight through his brain and killed him. And just take.
Roy thinks he won that fight, by the way. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
He got a few lucky punches in, but I still feel I won the fight. But I just think Nelson's going to be too much, man. I mean, he's a fast fuck, but the guy's just proven it time and time. I mean, he's 6'2", 263. And you hear that, and you see the guy just fight for 15 minutes straight and never gas. I couldn't run to the 2 blocks without gassing.
Me neither, my friend. It's ridiculous.
And I'm not 260.
No. Well, I don't think I am, but I haven't set foot on a scale in a while, so I'm going to assume that I'm not.
That's a fair play.
So you got Roy Nelson taking this one home, buddy?
Yeah, I got Roy Nelson via decision.
Okay, all right. That's probably the better pick, but I think we've all seen it when Roy Nelson lands that overhand right solidly on someone's chin. It's pretty tough for them to recover. Even in the fight that you were just talking about with Junior Dos Santos, when Junior Dos Santos beat the living shit out of him for fucking 3 rounds, it was obvious that Roy was tired. But every time he would get a solid shot on Dos Santos felt it. And he started to back up and get away from him. And Roy was definitely pretty tired in that fight. And it wasn't due to the conditioning. It was just due to the beating that Dos Santos was putting on him, Because, of course, Joe Rogan was like, that fat fuck. Oh, if only he lost some weight, he'd have more gas. No, Joe. It's just that the man was beat up for the last fucking 15 minutes, But, he's definitely got power in that right hand. So, and we know Herman likes to engage. He likes to strike. And he's going to come out. And the thing we saw in the Stephen Struve fight, if it does make it past the first round, Herman doesn't have a gas tank that Roy does. So I don't think you're making a bad pick that Roy will definitely win it by decision if it gets out of the first round. But I don't think it is. I think Roy's going to come out and he's going to plant one on Herman's chin and knock him out. And, that's just – I just think Roy needs to do something impressive. Anytime that he's been fucking, counted out before – in his fighting career. He seems to come out pretty motivated and ends up doing something pretty spectacular. When he knocked out Stefan Struve, nobody gave him a chance. Everybody thought Stefan Struve was going to walk right through him, and for a dude who's 6'11", the dude landed that on his chin and knocked him out. Now Herman's what, 6'7", 6'8", so you might see the same exact strategy. He might throw that same overhand right and crumple her to the ground as well. So I definitely see Roy knocking him out in the first round, just because Herman's a pretty aggressive fighter, and I think he's going to walk into the overhand right.
Yeah,
and
not unheard of, man.
That.
Not a crazy pick. So
well,
I can see it happen, but I think we both see it ending with Roy Nelson winning.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe bet. Moving on to the next fight, which I'm surprised this is getting, better billing than the Stefan Struve fight. But pits Stipe Miocic, who I'm a pretty big fan of. I'm starting to like this guy a lot. I'm the only guy who picked him the last time he fought. You guys just couldn't see what I've seen in this specimen's fight game. Fighting Shane Del Rosario, coming over from Strikeforce. Del Rosario is 11-0. He's finished all 11 of his fights. He's got 8 KOs and 3 subs. Miocic, on the other hand, he's 8-0. He's finished 7 of 8 of his fights, 6 KOs with 1 sub, and, of course, 1 decision. I really did have a hard time picking this fight. Now, really, between the both of them, they don't have a real notable win. I mean, Del Rosario, his most notable win, in my opinion, is against LeVar Johnson, who's also fighting on this card on short notice. He knocked out LeVar Big Johnson over in Strikeforce. Miocic really doesn't have a bunch of names on his record either, but at the same time, he's probably been fighting a bit better opponents. He's obviously been fighting in the UFC now. His last 2 fights, he's won both those fights. 8-0, 11-0, I say they kind of wash each other out. I think Miocic has probably fought a little bit better competition, and both these guys are going to come out trying to finish each other, so I just picked Miocic winning by second round KO.
Yeah, I mean, Miocic showed in the hands, and he's an extremely gifted athlete. He tapped LeVar Johnson in February 2011, like you had said, and I was very high on him after seeing him live against Pat Barry. Del Rosario is really good. He's coming off an accident in 2011, and he's trying to come back, and I just think Miocic is too much. I got Miocic first round KO.
Ooh, nice. See, I didn't want to go that aggressive just because Rosario definitely seems like, he's a game fighter. He's a finisher, so of course both these guys are going to be swinging for the fences, but again, I won't be shocked by that. I would actually like to see Miocic have a pretty impressive performance like that. And I guess
fight, dude.
Here we go. Well, I think you probably know, but of course, we've all heard, as I brought up his name already, LeVar Big Johnson in to fight Stefan Struve on short notice when Mark Hunt got injured. Stefan Struve was originally supposed to be fighting Mark Hunt, but of course we all know I'm a huge fan of the Skyscraper. LeVar Big Johnson, he's a knockout artist. 15 wins by KO. Sky's 3 for Struve. He's got 6 wins by KO, but of course he's got 15 wins by sub. Stefan Struve is a much younger fighter, but much more experienced fighter. LeVar's got a nice story going on for him. He ended his Strikeforce career with 2 losses in a row. He came into the UFC, got 2 huge knockouts. He's definitely a nice feel-good story. But unfortunately, what we saw in the last fight against Pat Barry is Pat Barry took him down with ease. I mean, Pat Barry shot a single, tore him down to the ground, which is ridiculous because, as we all know, Pat Barry does not have a ground game. He's not a wrestler. So all that spells disaster for LeVar Big Johnson against a guy like Stefan Struve, who's 6'11". Even though he's going to look thinner than Big Johnson, he's probably just as strong, if not stronger, because he's such a big dude. And, Struve is a submission specialist. He's also a kickboxer. So it's not like he's going to be a stranger to if he's got to throw hands with LeVar Johnson. Of course, we've seen Struve get knocked out, so it is possible Johnson can shock the world again, but I just don't see it, dude. I got Stefan Struve winning by first-round submission, and pretty quickly. I'm not even going to go as far as to say I'm not even going to beg for extra points within the first 2 minutes.
Listen here. LeVar Johnson, first round KO.
Stop it, dude. You're out of your fucking mind. You're just saying that to hurt my feelings.
I'm dead serious. That's my pick.
That's
Take
your
one
pick?
dip and end it. 10 o'clock. We're going to leave with that.
Yeah, all right. That's, you know what, everybody, let that soak in when you're watching the fights on fucking Saturday and you see Stefan Struve choke out LeVar Johnson within an inch of his life within the first 2 minutes of the first round. Dolo, that's a ridiculous pick, but I guess I'll do the stupid ending here. Everybody remember, check out the check out Nick Frank at nfrankrotox on Twitter. Check me out at Cauliflower, the number 4 ear on Twitter. Check Dolo out. He's got some scandalous photos up on his Facebook page. And I guess that's it. We're Cauliflower for the years, and we're tapping out. Uh-oh.